G'day and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My heroic return from the A320 is being set aground. Joining us today for an exciting 9 versus 55. Does look like one player has fallen out for the Peasants already, unfortunately. I don't actually know what happens in this one because I missed the live stream, so this should be an exciting start for me. A couple of things to be aware of, though. I do believe that the reclaim has been fixed on this one, so when the bonus exists, when you reclaim buildings, you do not get the bonus for those buildings. So that's a pretty big change that everyone's going to have to deal with.
Yeah, it's been up to 75 this game. I think we're usually teetering around the 65, 60 mark. Usually the percentage was roughly equal to the number of enemies. So 55 peasants, we would have seen probably a 55 bonus previously. Now we're bumping that right up there to counter for that slower start that the kings are going to see. It means they're going to have to invest a little bit less in eco and a little bit more into units earlier to ensure that there's enough units out to stop those rushes like we saw last week, where we saw 64 Centurions rushing one lane at the 10-minute mark. Hint, hint, they won in 2 minutes.
Something else to bear in mind, because the bonuses have been increased, that does mean that peasant aggression is more important than ever. If the kings are left to scale, they will absolutely leave the peasants behind. The difference between plus 55 and plus 75 is absolutely huge, which means that this is always the peasants' game to set the pace.
Yeah, putting a 75% bonus on means you got a fusion and an APHIS. That's enough to fund T3, like churning out T3. You don't need to really scale much beyond a few fusions, in fact, and you'll be able to afford the likes of the Titans and the Jugs. With those bonuses. So no excuses if these kings survive for more than 15-20 minutes. If they're able to scale, they're really going to be rolling out the units. But we do have these people in the corner that are commying those communism ecos, sharing all the eco to one player in each corner and getting them to upgrade T2 as quick as possible, and then sending out T2s to the surrounding mexes. We're not seeing it too much, mostly just in that bottom right corner, but we do have Avalons here already going into one of the first T2 labs, so hopefully we see that go up. Maybe they're getting fed a little bit of eco. They are very full there.
Not going to foreshadow anything about this one, that bottom right corner down there at all for the later on into the game.
One thing to bear in mind is in maps like Raptor Crater, even though there might be the room to fill every single slot, if you don't chuck a couple of comms in each of the 4 corners so they can co-op eco and scale, you're going to end up finding yourself not with the pushing power you need at that 15-minute mark, or that scaling threat in some of the in the corners that are kept suppressed.
Yeah, so let's just go touch on a couple of the rules, or the main rule of King of the Hill that we see some issues with is we don't want to see any long range offensive structures that can reach the mexes. So if you're down here around a mex as a king, you don't want to be building a persecutor, agitator or the like that can shoot up and take out these mexes here. Similarly, don't go building one here that can shoot down. So almost every week we have 1 or 2 breaches of that rule. It's very hard to instill, and we do consider banning those units, but the reason we don't do that is they are used so often defensively really well, especially for the kings, and without having them enabled, there's just a lot more chance that the kings can fall. A couple mexes missed over here from ADHD Magpie. It's really important that you get every one of these. That's 6.6 metal plus the 75% bonus, or is that with the bonus?
It's 6.6 with the 75%.
That's right.
If you click on a peasant player, it'll drop it down to 1.9, which is the normal value.
There you go. You are right. Too right. But we are getting extra bonus out of these mexes. It's not, not these mexes, these converters. Even though it's saying +1, they're going to be bringing in about 1.75. Okay, so at the 10-minute mark, this lava is going to reseed. What you want to do as a peasant is, if you're anywhere around this circle here, start building your units at the 6 to 7 minute mark so that there is pressure on every king. If you use their APM, that APM is one of the most precious resources in King of the Hill for kings. You got 9 people fighting 55. If you're making them click on their units, they're not clicking and scaling their eco. If you're keeping them on their toes, you're keeping the eco on the nose.
And that 10-minute mark is when those defenses are most likely to be the weakest. Normally there's something still on its way up between the sort of 10 and 11-minute mark.
Now let's talk about king tactics, because we don't talk about that very much. We talk about what the peasants should usually do. King tactics, especially with this new bonus. We've done a few tests over the last week with the new bonus. Firstly, defending at the 10-minute mark, because every week we see at least one decent push out of the peasants at the 10-minute mark, and who knows which lane it's going to go down. But how to defend it? Your likes of Jags or Welders for the Armada faction, Fiends, and even fantastic unit that you wouldn't think of, the Pounder. One of the best units to defend against those rushes in King of the Hill. You put just a few Pounders against an onslaught of spam coming out of these, what would you call these? These little canyons, these little access paths up the hill. Right. They push them back with that splash damage, and it creates a knock-on effect as well. By pushing back those first units, they actually knock back all the units behind them as well. It takes them longer to get up the hills. The Pounders do fantastic. We've seen that a few times, but not enough. That's one of Tom's favourite moves. Yeah, also Fiends, great. Salamanders go quite well as well. Tigers are some that a unit that we sometimes see, but they're not fantastic because they only really, they don't have the biggest area effect, and their rate of fire is not insane. So they're great unit, but they're not the greatest for King of the Hill, in my opinion. And what you really want to do is defend, whilst Rosie in the middle here gets to scale their eco. It's really important that this player can get to T3 before the peasants can get to T3 and be able to push up some of these ramps. If a lane falls, Rosie's job to then go and help out that lane. But if Rosie's doing that, that means they're not scaling. So as a king, one of those 8 around the side there, make sure you hold your lane so that your middle player can do their thing. And the all players as well. Build up some turrets like this. Personally, actually this is quite a good new move, using a sneaky Pete here so that we can't see anything shoot over the edge here too easily. But I like to build like a construction turret back here somewhere, and then if I'm Armada, a few beamers across the front and a couple pop-up dragon's claws, I think they call them, and that usually does me, and the rest of my defenses are units.
That being said, it's 6 minutes 24 in, and 13 LLTs plus six Dragon's Claws. That's a huge metal investment, which you're not spending on scaling that eco. This player hasn't even got their second T2 mechs up by the 6 minute 30 mark, which is not ideal, because your metal spent early on things that isn't economy has a trickle down effect, which delays you significantly for the entire match.
Yeah, probably a great example of a high OS player at the highest OS in this game. I think are they even higher than even any of the peasants. Doesn't mean you're going to be fantastic at King of the Hill its first time in the middle. We see some lower OS peasants. Let's just look at Paulmont over here. Look at that. Gonna possibly have an AFS up at the 10-minute mark. Paulmont has a great build order. Check that out in the replays. You can download them from the bar website. But anyway, knows what they're doing, plays King of the Hill a lot. So if you see like a player that's high OS or low OS, don't judge them in King of the Hill, because they could have completely surprising tactics and abilities. So yeah, as Prater said, this stuff here, I only put it down like after the 8 minutes.
8 minutes is enough time to get your defenses down. And if you go the Pounder strat, then 9 minutes is when you need to have that lab up and producing. The first 20 seconds go to one side, the next 30 seconds go to the other side, and then the final 10 seconds go to the top side. It should get you about 15. It should get you about 10 to 15 pounders on each side.
Yeah, you can see here really this player here has gone into T2 mechs down. One went down this side and came back, and then another one went down here and is putting these all up, and they've Commander Wedge has already got that fusion up. So it just gives a display of, same over here again, gives a display of what you should be achieving by that 10-minute mark. Watch behind, almost all the mechs is up, fusion up, second one's coming as well. Even going into some advanced construction turrets, I forgot these were on. And join King of the Hill to see these chain react. We've tweaked them, well, chronographers tweak them so that these chain react in the game, just like the T1s do.
Just something to bear in mind, as far as metal efficiency goes, these are not as metal efficient per build power as the regular sized construction turrets, so early on in the game, you want to be sticking to those regular construction turrets, as these will become too much of a metal sink that could otherwise be put into your eco. But Watch Behind is in a bit of a tight position at the moment because they are about a minute 20 away from finishing off their fusion reactor, and they do not have those defenses yet. So risky strategies, but that sometimes does pay off. We are seeing an APHIS though out of Peasant. That is very good build, very strong build. Do have to get those energy converters up. Remember, with a plus 75, that means that you're going to need to have 75% more converters. So that means that rather than having the 4, you actually need to build yourself 7. And that means that the amount of metal you're getting out of an APHIS is about 140 metal a second.
Well, the only thing I'd change with Portman's build, which I think I should really consider actually, there you go, just saying, see Twig, you can do it. I always advise not going into the AFS just so that you can get the fusion up. But anyway, I've got to study this to see if it's more effective than what I do with the 2 fusions. I do have a few more units out, and I'm usually building units by about 8.5 minutes. So even though yes, the eco is going to be stronger, less chance of falling. I'm a bit of a more conservative player. I like to ensure that I've definitely got my lane held before I go into that bigger eco. One change, put a gap. Take these 2, put them over here. Put them anywhere else. Don't build your conversion hard up against your AFS, because when they explode, they're going to take a big chunk of the health off of that AFS, meaning that it will go down a lot quicker. All right, 20 seconds left. Units coming out of Parliament. Couple kings. Let's just do a quick bandbox on the whole map. We can see 340 units and only 46 out of the kings. Yeah, so
one of the things to note, if you're peasants, there are plenty of basically undefended lanes. We do have several lanes that are defended only by a couple of twin guards. We do have some undefended lanes, a couple of them which are defended by things like scorpions, which are not ideal for defenses. And then we also have a few which are just defended by build turrets, which is not what you want. But the 10-minute mark has elapsed.
Our first push straight into Dibby's base. You can see how effective these Dragon Claws are. I've got 3 up. Unfortunately, they're going to be just out of the range of some of these. Oh, actually, they're doing a lot. They're doing a lot. Taking these down.
You're best to run your units around the defenses wherever possible. Because if you can kill the ecos, you don't have to worry about the defenses so much.
Yeah, and they all go down pretty damn quick. But, Pix, if they head north, piece of bread, running into some beamers here. No, go back. Go up.
Thankfully, the defenses have been built tightly enough that there is very little in the way of room that they can squeak through. But if they do make it through, plenty of opportunity to do some damage. Remember, things that you want to target desperately, if you can, is the energy conversion. That pops the quickest and does a lot of damage and sets the kings back nicely. Metal is the name of the game for the kings.
Near us on the top right, not quite understanding the King of the Hill requirements at that 10-minute mark. There were no defenses over here, just a little bit of scouting information, and straight away ticks in the base, going for one of the best things you can go for, and that is build power. Build power is king when it comes to scaling your eco, and there goes most of it, and I think the last of it's going to go here as well. Next thing you go for is the conversion, but the closest in sight is over here in Ravender's lane, so probably not going to get any vision out of that. Let's just go the player view.
I do like the beamers behind Peasant space. Those ones will do a good job at defending.
Yeah, and there you go, the popping of the ticks. Rosie out with the Razorback.
But you see just how much damage a very small amount of money's worth of units could do. Imagine if on top of that 2 more players had decided to go defensive. If they'd found that lane, they would have been able to run in with things like pawns or blitzers or incisors, and incisors into this push would have been a dead player.
You can see here those tigers actually really struggled to take out even the ticks, but it was the pork that knocked them on the head. Yeah, displays that tigers miss a lot with against that spam. Where is the action? Where's the next action going to be? I think it's kind of a bit of a stalemate at the moment, which is good for the middle players, getting to see a second APHIS come up out of Rosie. Peasant already getting the second up, and that is a result of yeah, I love Peasant's builds. These dragon's teeth around the beamers really stop a lot of the tick or the pawn damage. And then just having units there ready to push as well. You can see we're going into spiders now. That'll probably come up over this hill. Plenty of welders as well. They're going to do some damage. I like it. I like it a lot.
And looking at the scaling that's going on at the moment, we have Watch Behind up to their 3rd fusion. We have Magpie on their 3rd as well. 2 Aphises up for Ollie and 2 Aphises up for Paumont, as well as a couple Aphis in the middle of the map for Rosie. This is what we talk about when we say that the peasants need to put a lot of aggression on it. The kings right now are catching up to the peasant eco, and it's not even 13 minutes in. If the peasants don't put enough pressure in, it means the kings don't have to build new defenses. They don't have to spend metal, which means that they can just force eco, and forcing eco as a king is just a surefire way of doing very, very well in kings.
You can see how well these Jags did against the ticks compared to those Tigers. So twice as many ticks, and they just got cleaned up so quickly. We've got tremors coming out. These are dangerous. They can shoot up anywhere, and they will just take everything out. And you'll just see those plasma shells landing and just decimating the top of this hill. And you get enough of these, they really hurt. There is a fat boy here though. That's going to scare a few units back.
Up on that left hand side there, you should be able to see a push
Ooh.
coming out.
Yeah, that's a lot of blitz. I like
that's
to
a
see
lot of
that.
blitz. If you spread those out, they're going to do huge amounts of damage. The way that I would run these now is I would just be fanning out a massive fight command in one of the directions and just trying to clear everything.
Yeah, nice chain reactions. That energy conversion managing to explode and take out any adjacent wind as well. It is close enough. Just make sure you select a unit and press space X like that, and it'll show you the explosion damage that can be done. Winds without much HP go down a lot. Unfortunately, a bit of miss micro here, and a few of those going down, but this is insane. Light mines.
Oh,
all the mines.
That's just devastating, and it's just going through. That is, luckily with mines, completely decimating the wreckage, so no metal left behind, but also that's a lot of metal spent. Excuse me.
If you have a look on this bottom right side now, these peasants are starting to put some pressure on.
Oh, so that was the eco coming out of Potato. Shout out Potato, one of our OGs. Now got 2 Aphis up, 2 fusion, and going into the T3 at the same time. So up against Dibby, who was a bit slow.
Those ticks about to get on the conversion on.
Yeah, they got it.
There they go.
And now they're going to look for getting these construction turrets as well. I always like to break up my construction turrets in King of the Hill so that this doesn't happen. Put one gap in between them so that you can get them back up.
The entire block.
These Shivas, they're hurting. And Rosie is coming online with, they've got, how many is that?
Big shot.
Oh, what happened here?
Coming out in the middle.
What happened here?
That was a Vanguard shot onto a single tick, popping all of the build power.
Collateral damage.
That is an insane game changer, because the Kings are looking quite healthy here. Rosie's eco with 4 Aphis. That is 4 Aphis times 1.75.
Same thing happening on that top side there as well.
Oh god, those ticks.
OP ticks. Like this is.
And that's the thing. It only takes a handful of units to do the damage. And all of this could have been circumvented if Rovenda was paying attention. They would have been able to eat those ticks.
1 LLT even at the back of every base will clean up those ticks, those leaks, or most of them anyway, depending how many get through. Luckily, we do have a push on the left here at a commander wedge. Their units are pushing up, doing a lot of damage, and with these multiple tremors in the background, they're clearing out everything from a distance and keeping the commanders away from their degunning as well. But up on the right,
that's not the push I want to talk about. I want to talk about the top left. This is the slow march of the mammoth.
Mammoths are so good. I actually would really like to try and work
P1 as well.
I'd love to work a Mammy drop into one of our Road to 25 games, guys. We're going to figure out how we can commie that to happen to be one of the first T2 units out, and keep it ahead of any keep units ahead of it for any commander D guns. One thing I did actually see on this night, which is a phenomenal tactic, is keeping an invisible commander in front of a mammoth or in front of T3, just so that if it's something's going to get D-gunned, there's a chance the commander will receive the D-gun hit instead of that T3 unit or the mammoth. It's a really good tactic.
Interesting question about that. Do D-guns destroy decoy comms?
Yes.
Okay, because that would be kind of amazing if you could put a wall of invisible decoy comms in front of your stuff.
That would be very amazing. That would be the new meta of every game ever.
So, just talking a little bit, while that push is going on, just want to talk a little bit about the bottom right-hand side. This right-hand side has managed to push out some Shivas, has got some catapults coming up, and has been supporting this T1 push. You've got players playing very smartly. You have some players pumping out decent T1 units like the Thugs. You have ticks coming in. You have fast movers like Pawns coming in, and they're all supporting that T3 push. And this is how critical having multiple players in this corner is. It essentially means that the co-op corner can do its thing, but then they're supported by additional APM and additional units by the people around them. Not everyone here is going for their own individual glory. They're going for the tactic that's going to do the most damage and and try and take out a king, which is a really fantastic way of playing it, because we say this quite a few times. The way that the peasants win is essentially by unifying, and the way that the kings win is by again acting as one player with 9 players worth of APM.
Yeah, 100%. These catapults really doing too much damage, and unfortunately Rosie is focusing. They need to like rebuild their base, so they're sitting here defensively, these vanguards, but I couldn't help but, oh no, that catapult's slowly picking everything away. That's just all being given to Rosie. Actually,
I
don't mind that.
That's probably one of the best things that could happen for the kings right now. Because Rosie needs the conversion to get those to get the build turrets online to get back into the game, because currently producing 31,000 energy but only converting 8,000, and of that, almost half of that conversion, in fact I think all that conversion, is coming from the stuff that was given to her, which will hopefully get back online and let her take this lane in the hole. So could be a worse outcome right there.
I am a fan of sharing some eco to the player that's been wiped to get them back on their feet. Without it, it takes them about 10 minutes, funnily enough, to rebuild. If you give them a head start of effusion and some conversion, they can get back pretty quick.
Oh no, these blitz back into the freaking same mines again. Oh, that hurts. That's so much metal of blitz just disappeared. They might still get this com though. That's a funny one. I love the commitment to just sticking with the blitz. There must be a lot of labs. Yes, there is. There's 6 labs just constantly on repeat. I do love to see it. Very interesting tactic there. You got ADHD. I don't mind it at all. Just back down here though, I do think that it might be coincidental. Dibby actually has 6 to 10 FPS right now, so that might have been the reason for the handover.
That's not ideal.
This is
ooh, commander on their way in down there.
Yeah, this is. Oh no, we've got a control D here as well. Yeah, trying to clean this all up.
To be fair, preventing the peasants from potentially reclaiming that is not the worst idea in the world, but
that's an open lane.
It was going to go down either way, but yeah, it's now an open lane, and if you're going to do that, try and get as much defenses up behind you as possible, and then just give them to a player that's going to have energy.
Also, just another thing to point out, that was the location of the closest AFIS. Build them here. Build your AFIS at the back of your base. I mean, even Pormots, they're okay. Just keep them back to the point where they're behind enough to...
Twig?
Good pressure coming in on this other side.
Didn't we play a game where I was in the middle as a king, and you complained about where I put my AFIS despite them being in the middle of the map?
We did.
I remember this. Something about that's what I was gonna build.
Yours didn't look like this. Yours was like AFIS here, AFIS there, conversion here. Like it was all over the place.
I was in the middle of the map, and I built my AFIS where you were gonna build your AFIS.
That's right. That's right. These mammoths are still on the march, by the way, top left. So despite this, piece of bread's going in.
And on that bottom right side.
All right, they're walking. They're
I
going
reckon
through
it's
the
gonna
D
be
gun for the
a
T3 as well.
fantastic D gun. T3 lab is a target right here, and without the T3 lab, Rosie's going to be losing half of their production capability, which is the Razorbacks at the moment that are holding this off. And this is why the comm is such an important unit for the peasants. Whether it's going on the offensive or being on the defensive, that is just absolutely huge.
A lot of pressure now on Rosie, who's become a full frontliner, and this is not what you want for the centre player. We've had 2 lanes full right here. It's so unfortunate that they're now having to do 3 people's job. So you don't want that at the 20-minute mark. And we do have demons here, but it's looking really good on the left.
Yeah, top left-hand side, the Kings are well and truly into pushing. One of the corners has been destroyed before it can come online, and the Mammoths are still ongoing. And they're fighting T1, which is just not going to work out well for the T1.
GG easy. These blitz still going.
It's not over yet, because the thing is, no matter what happens for the peasants, if they even if they lose the entire top half, all it takes is one good push to kill the whole Kings team.
All right, yeah, we do have these ticks, so they're going to see that conversion. You know what? I actually reckon they're going to die before they get there. That is enough LLTs. I am wrong. I am totally wrong. There was a chain reaction. But not to worry, there are a bunch of advanced energy converters over here, so Commander Wedge has plenty there. I think I have a similar base set up somewhat to this, where I build my T3 for like this. The one thing I like to do, twin guards or beamers down the side, even like 1 or 2 pop-ups like your scorpions. You want to look for those lakes. And speaking of, 3 little guys here. Are we going to see? I just saw a plasma.
Persecutors firing on the eco, but it doesn't look like they're going to do a lot of damage.
Bring that in, yeah, they disappear. Sucked into oblivion. Hot potato now trying to repeat the goodness that we see. But there is definitely radar coverage there. There's radar coverage for most of the middle of the map there. I'm just thinking it's quite scary. There's 2 catapults back here. Unless we get a push out of these Razorback, these are going to be slowly picked off. There is a Titan, there is a Thor that should be able to keep everything back, but I mean, all you need to do is get these catapults to around here, and they
the
can
blitzers
just
on the bottom left-hand side are starting to make their push.
Okay, well they're building up. Yeah, they're going in now. Okay, are they splitting? They're going. Oh no, they're going into. Wow, look at this. Look how many defenses are here. Then look how many defenses are here.
Scout your lanes. Scout your lanes. The different, like the win and loss factor for so many Kings games is just sending your stuff up the wrong ramp.
This is probably about 250 blitz when they started pushing in. Every one of these pulse shots.
And watch that number go down.
133, 130. Oh, that's just I can't count that
impressively
fast.
well. However, if they'd gone up the undefended lane next to it, they would have done significantly better.
There's an entire second wave of beamers as well.
They pushed that side instead of the side with the fusion reactor. It's actually a great move out of fuel, moving the commander there, keeping it visible.
If that
like,
had
keep away from the comm.
Almost any other ramp, that would have ended the entire corner.
Yeah, that's literally the most defended ramp. Maybe this one over here is similar. No, I would say those amount of beamers.
Amazing how often you pick the defended ramp.
Well, what is happening here? We got some gremlins. Ticks. Nope. They're trying to find their way in. Duck, dive, dodge, weave.
They take a lot of micro to get those in and dance around everything that you find it to not make yourself visible.
I'm loving this.
One of the things that we've been somewhat missing, while those, actually we'll keep an eye out on those.
Yeah, they've seen it. They've seen it. Have seen it.
But is it going to be seen fast enough? Because that's enough to one-shot one of those converters.
Surely. Yep. There we go. There we go. See how much damage that did?
Again.
10% on that.
Oh no! Oh man, if only. Oh, that could have wiped the entire middle if they'd pushed in after
probably
the
shooting with just the one. to take out that conversion would have been ideal, and then send the next 2 in to do the damage. That
Still
hurts.
plenty of damage done.
Rosie's APM must be through the roof right now, having to do so much.
This is one of those positions that always feels really rough as a king, where every time you start getting re-established, you end up getting reset. Sometimes it just feels like the entire map is against you. But doing this and staying alive, every moment you stay alive is more time for Watch Behind and for Magpie to start pushing around. Because even though we haven't been commenting too much on it, Watch Behind has been doing a phenomenal job efficiently pushing through.
I'm
Com
loving
after
this.
com falling. Mammoth after mammoth just punching through. T1 unit support. So much T3 has been thrown into this. And one thing I do want to say, this top middle has been defended by Team Newt. For those of you that are familiar with King of the Hill, breaking into a Team Newt defended area is not something that is easy to do. Those guys are phenomenal as kings. They're phenomenal as co-op peasants. And they are always the lane I really hope not to fight them in. Give or take Claymore, I will fight them in Claymore, and I feel like it's not. I won't feel quite as at risk, but
rather than the whole
Demons.
crew.
Cleaning up.
those guys know what they're doing.
2
Yeah, you can
mammoths
see
left,
that they've been
and I dare say this is
making
going
their
to
way
get shut
around.
down.
that clock face relatively undefended. They haven't been slowed down particularly, and suddenly there's not many units left in that push.
Yeah, that was a lot of mammoths back here, and now there's just a couple left trying to get these. Well, these grunts might miss micro there, and they might actually get the conversion, especially with the
It looks like they're
the
going to get the
demon's going to get
conversion.
it. Unfortunately, the demon
Oof.
big area effect, but we do have 5 demons coming in this other way. I don't think, as good as these guys are, I don't think you're going to stop 5 if they're spread out enough.
Demons are not something that is easy to use com micro against because they can ground fire and it does exceed the range of the D-gun. But if you don't do that, then you may well just manage to snipe 3 of them with a single com.
The Kings are actually doing quite well. I'm going to keep my screen fixed on here because there's going to be damage to be done. I'm going to be surprised if this gets stopped. But the middle, they're actually holding well. The Kings have way more T3 out in the field than the Peasants at the moment, and they have seemed to have stabilised. So really nicely done out of the very middle players.
So what do you do right now if you are the Peasant team? Because the eco has just finally swung in favour of the Kings, which means that you need to use your one directed hammer, which is basically the bottom right hand side of the map, to try and break in. How do you do it, Twig?
Honestly, you just feed them. You tell them to go APHIS. You keep all the front players aggressing. All the ones through here now, even these ones here, there's a few fusions up there, there's fusions down here. They can keep the T2 pressure on. There's enough T3. Keep the players that have been doing the Kami Eco microing that and keeping that stuff alive while this happens. Build a stupid amount of APHIS, an amount that equals what the central king is doing in the middle. Or queen in this case. I don't know, whatever you like to go by. The T3 labs, this is going to really punch out a lot of units. So this is what you want to see. Exactly what's happening there.
I also like the call for Juggernaut. 26 minutes into the game, it isn't so late that there are counters to the Juggernaut other than the comms. We don't see those walls or pulsars. We don't see enough to stop this. All this has to do is get into the middle of the base and detonate. It doesn't have to do much damage for shooting, but even if it does, it's going to be really effective at killing those demons. It's going to be strong against those titans. It's going to be strong against those Thors. So getting some T3 building up and pushing in will do a lot. And one of the things which I really like, a lot of the peasants have just sort of figured this one out, or not figured this one out, they've got enough to do it now. They're starting to sweep the outer perimeter of the circle. They're using the beachhead they have got to start clearing.
Yeah, they're
and that's going to make a big
where
difference.
those weak points are. They've essentially opened up 2 lanes, which have then been reinforced with units from the other players, and now they're trying to work out where those next weak points are. They can put that pressure on, and there's a consistent flow of units coming in. So the Kings have to they have to respond. They can't just stop an eco for a bit and then push out again.
Oh,
If they
spam getting
stop,
through.
bases are going to die.
Once
One of the
again, all the
things-
build power here going down because there's no separation into it. So if you're a king, just put some separation so you can rebuild it quite quickly.
And the thing is, when you end up in this situation, every lane that you open up to push gives you access to more peasants that can get their units in. This sniper wall has been struggling to fight through because there isn't the spam and there was all those defenses. The defenses have been cleared, the T3 production has been cleared, and the spam is now being provided by, again, a lane that was being held by T1 defenses. So that means that you're adding a lot of additional firepower in just by using the tools you have available to you, which is sweeping the donut.
Having all this spam around this jug is so dangerous. Rosie's commander trying to get in there. Pormont's has come over as well because that jug. Here we go. Hot Potato is doing exactly what we're talking about, keeping a comm around the thing to just stop the video.
Have you seen this game before and you knew this was happening, so you did some foreshadowing in order to intentionally
I knew
make
I had
sure...
seen it in the last week. That comm actually just going down by the Vanguard that's back here, unfortunately.
But sieging units and the Juggernaut and Spam all starting to get in range of those APHIS near the middle.
Yeah, this Vanguard's actually there.
Close.
Oh, there you go.
All it's going to take is a couple of shots. There we go.
Really nicely done. And that is the Eco King down. On the top right here, we do have these demons still going. These guys are still trying to push. All the T3 and all the T2
As I
mammoths.
said, push through Team Newt at your peril. The true answer is to go back down into the middle and come back up somewhere else.
Yeah, you can see up there, I kill you for fun, one of the biggest damages in the game there.
I'm dead serious. If I see that they're against me, I just pick another lane.
As long as you know where they are and they're somewhat contained and they're not pushing out yet, drawing all of your resources against them.
The big scary is when they start getting better at offense. They're incredibly good at early game offense, they're incredibly good at late game offense, but that mid game offense is the only hope that I have, because I can defend their mid game offense.
When they're scaling before they get all the unit production rolling.
It is very hard to push into here. I just want to see if the peasants have visibility of Pormont's big eco. We're going to get a bit. Yeah, we do. We do see it. We see exactly here. We also see that there's a shield there, so it's not going to be something as simple as getting plasmid in. What do we want to get? We want to get the likes of the Shivas with that rocket on their backpack, or even better, you want to get the catapults in range.
The problem is the peasants are on a bit of a ticking timer at the moment, because everything that's at the top can soon be moved to the bottom. All that has to happen is that enough of a push is done to that top right hand corner that then everything can be moved down.
Yeah, I do want to
basically sweeping the clock here, and the peasants have only got until they arrive before it's all over.
Yeah, I want to quickly touch on something. You did ask me before, what do you do in this situation as well? I spoke about that corner down there. On the bottom left, what I would be doing is, like, say, half of these peasants over here, try and retake this area here. Send your commanders up there to get the D guns, and put your units here instead of trying to get them into the middle. By taking this APM out of what's behind, it's going to give it a bit of relief up here to the top right where they're really pushing into these areas. That is 4 bulwarks, taking out a lot. Hide and shot to a fusion will take it.
That's actually super good positioning for those bulwarks, because they're basically they're basically safe, and they get really good vision shooting down the ramp. Nicely
done. How are we looking over here? We've now had Nearest have to turn around, send their Shivas south. They're sending Pounders. Love to see that. Good old Pounders do really good against the spam. And now we've got a wall of these Pulsars as well, trying to take out the T3. They're focused on this Juggernaut.
One thing which I've just seen, there is a catapult that has managed to get a couple of shots down into Pormont's base. If another couple can make it through.
Oh, there it goes. Exactly as you say it. Base clear. Base clear. So once again, they were spreading their eco out like that. I mean, you never to know. Try and do your best to keep it in that area there, those APHISs. Least chance of it being visible too early or being able to be shot from another lane. But really good effort out of Pormont, probably one of the better things that we saw on the night.
Cormont is very consistent with his King's play.
Very good build order with that APHIS as well. So if you got the
a risky
75%
build.
bonus, feel free to go for it. I don't know if you can get there with the 65. I think in the practices, the 65 was a bit of a struggle.
So in the past, when you were able to gain that extra bit of reclaim, it was possible to get there on the 55, but I have not done the testing to find out exactly where it goes. But even then, it was a bit of a risky thing. You had to determine it based on your early wind and conversion.
Yeah, when you go for the APHIS, it often comes up at about 9 minutes, or at least that's when mine tends to come up, which then makes it really tight to get conversion and the lab rolling to have enough units up. So you basically cross your fingers and hope you don't get pushed hard. If you make it to 11, 12 minutes, you are set.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. Kings is a gamble.
You probably die.
Kings is a big gamble, but it does look like the momentum in the top half of the map is petering out, and one of the things we do need to watch for in the bottom left-hand side, we do see blue sieging units that are starting to make their way towards Brown's bases. I do believe those Mausers are starting to target starting to target the left king, and there we go. That is the eco taken out by a couple of Mausers, just managing to get that little bit of damage on the edge.
I did miss that, but
through.
One thing that took my attention away was this is what we're talking about, these rattlesnakes all up on this hill. Just managed to clear out all of those mammoths from around here. So you can now see an army of Lazarus starting to form to resurrect them, and I'm sure they're going to get sent back into the middle.
Man,
that's what we keep them in the game.
That's going to be rough. Either whether you reclaim or whether you rebuild this entire area, it's it's a 26,000 metal swing, and it could be just enough to start tipping through. It also is another area that is open and free for the peasants to start attacking. That means that all of this bottom side can continue pushing. The top right, somewhat recovered, is defending quite well, and the pressure is just on. The eco for the Kings was nearly at 4,000 a few minutes ago, but with a couple of those players going down, and with the eco fields mostly being controlled by the peasants now, sitting at a casual 2,400 for the Kings and 4,000 for the peasants, which means that as long as the peasants trade somewhat efficiently, in fact they just need to trade slightly better than a negative 50% efficiency, and you'll see the peasants start to build up that army value. And once you see a swing of about 50% to 100% bonus army value for one team, it becomes very, very hard for it to swap back the other way.
One of the big advantages the peasants have at the moment is the Kings have to respond to pretty much everything, and units take time to get across the map. So if you can have a push that pulls units in one direction, you'll probably open up a bit of a gap where those units have come from, where you can then push the next lot of units through. And if you keep on rotating exactly where you're hitting them, sooner or later something's going to make it through.
That's right. So that push that was dying off on the top right now looks like a lot of units are being formed up, and this is what I like to see. Why build your own units when you've got somebody else doing it for you? Just resurrect theirs. Lots of Lazarus, lots of grave robbers up and resurrecting those T3 units, and that's going to be sent straight back down into the middle. It's also going to defend against any further T3 pushes coming out of Watch Behind, who is now facing most of the front force down this brute force down the south of the map.
You can see Watch Behind is no longer rotating around because he has to respond to this bottom half of the map just to keep things alive.
Is the commander going to get sniped? This is hilarious. Death by ticks at this stage of the game down to 18%. That was almost so clutch.
Oh, that was close. So I just want to point out the right-hand side near us has gone into mass pounder. These pounders have completely pushed back the entire right-hand side.
Pounders are fantastic against T1.
That is absolutely insane.
But they pack a punch.
Yeah, there's more kills than there are pounders out of them, so they're doing what they're meant to do, and that only affects the data of the ones that are currently on the game as well.
If you need to, if you're in a situation where one of the biggest problems you have is clearing out that spam, it does look like counter spam with pounders seems to be a ludicrously strong strat.
Similar to Pounder as well, we got a few Centurions out here, and they're doing quite well at cleaning up this spam. You can see this one here just won 15 kills. just sent in the other direction, so doing their money's worth as well. I do have to just quickly comment so we don't get too much in the comments. Yes, the game is a little bit slow. I don't know what it is lately. There's been a recent update, and ever since then a few of us have been getting low FPS. You can even see in the game as well, same thing's happening to a lot of players that usually don't have the issue. So I'm not too sure what that is. Apologies in advance. I mean, at least you still...
We did also have a whole bunch of server issues where after the first game everything got reset, and we had like a 15-minute intermission as we tried to get everyone logged back in again. So it could also be something to do with that.
Yeah, so something's happened there. I don't know why it's still affecting the replay, but yeah, bear with us. You're still graced by our beautiful voices.
So yeah, no, it's been a if you have noticed anything through this cast, it's been slightly out of sync. I have been constantly having to slow down and speed up my replay to try and match Twig, which is where the video recording is coming from.
So yeah, it's just a typical thing that's hopefully going to improve in the coming weeks. But of course, thanks to the devs and mods for constantly improving the game, and that's what's happening. Trial and error.
Does look like the Peasants are doing what they need to right now to secure the win. They've acknowledged how much damage they've done. They've acknowledged how much space they're working on, and the army value is just increasing and increasing and increasing, which means that these T3 units are fighting and not dying, which is exactly what we want to see. Where there was one full health jug, there's now 3 partial health jugs that are being healed. We have Titans massing up. We have Starlights massing up. That's the sort of thing that's going to help push through these demons, because the demons are holding the gate, but they're not going to do so well against these high damage range units.
I'd love to see the blue team, Pigpire, and who's this? MRKS moving around the left, retaking what was once theirs back, and watch behind APM elsewhere, so it's not being seen, just walking up and around, and that is going to affect the Kings a little bit. Just want to also take your attention to the top right. The medal income is still not that different. We quite often see Kings about 70 to 80% behind them, maybe 80 to 90, but that is like an amount where they can quite easily defend themselves, and that's why they are still in this game.
I think a lot of that has to do with Reclaim, because it has been the Kings have been averaging around about 2,800, and the Peasants are actually averaging closer to 6,000, which is definitely falling them a bit, which is definitely why the army value has swung by 300,000 metal in the last couple of minutes.
You look at the total metal produced as well. That's not too different. So obviously, yeah, it's kind of exponential at the moment, where the Peasants, I feel, do have a bit of a bigger advantage. You can now see zoomed out there, they do have control of 3/4 of the map. Now that they've taken back these areas here and put the pressure on, the constant encroachment is being backed up by now 5 Juggernauts here, 6 Juggernauts at the game.
I do like seeing the roving bands of T1 spam. Rather than just throwing them in a line, they're letting them build up into a sizable group and then punching them through defenses, finding where those weak points are, forcing responses around the map.
Yeah, these pawns that are
Not to mention
here,
there have been a few sprinter pushes as well, which definitely have been forcing the Kings out of position.
if these go up, someone's actually scouted out the best line for these pawns to take. There are a good 300 over here. If they all push up through here, I reckon they'll do all right. Although there are some, yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Thors are quite good at cleaning these up. Also a control.
They kind of are. They kind of
Heavy
aren't.
losses are acceptable if you can make it through. They will take out a lot.
What's doing all the damage is these vanguards. And are these going to be some good EMPs? No, they were predictive EMPs. So really nicely micro to get them out, and now they've turned them around. Vanguards are great until you get close to them.
Yeah.
Unless you have enough. If you have a pack of like 250 to 300 Vanguards, it doesn't matter how close you get.
Yeah.
At that point, it probably doesn't matter too much about what's coming at you. You're probably relatively safe.
And this Juggernaut about to fall to T1 units, just ticks, cleaning them up. It's actually going down really quickly as well. Nicely done. Those snipers nearby really help.
Round bonus for the win.
Top right is now coming online, sending all those resurrected units. Actually, are these resurrected? No, they are fresh. They are fresh. There's definitely some halos around. You can see the Thor, the Titan. great combination of units, Thor and the Titans together. And those catapults backing them up with the distance. If they just march forward to the top of this hill, they could do some real damage to the defences here. In fact, they could hit all the build power. They can't see it though. They can definitely see the defences.
Something which I do if I have catapults is I actually get them to what I consider to be as far forward as I possibly can, and then I fan fire at max range, even into the fog of war, because it doesn't really slow down my push very much. But what it does do is, if there is something like a build power section or a conversion section or anything along those lines, that will absolutely nuke it out of existence, and it is, and it's free damage, and it will, and I reckon it's probably been accurate 1 in 5, and that's a pretty good hit rate for firing into the fog of war.
The kings only have so much space to build in. As long as you hit the common build areas, something's likely to go boom.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, middle's being pushed again. Rosie's still alive. Awesome job in the middle. But yeah, getting pushed again, and now we've got these big jugs, the Shivas, all pushing in, supported by techs, and these bulwarks do clean up some, but not all of them, and they're getting too close. The kings are really being stretched thin here. Not to mention the catapults have moved forward over here, and they're now shooting down onto these bases here, and it's not looking healthy for these kings anymore. Enough with the
Royals.
Royals.
Loving is the juggernauts are basically being used as mobile pulsars, which is just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. We have broken through those main defenses, whereas these vanguards are the last real defensive line, but they're not going to do great against the spam, and the spam is what getting through on the right hand side here. Nearest is eco that's been built up to the back here, neatly short of this other player's eco, to give this other player space to do eco, Mr. Praetor. But yeah, they're getting through.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Blitz. Oh, please be microing that Blitz. Please be microing the Blitz. You can see his name there. Is that Helm's Deep? Yes, he's focusing. Get that. Get that. Yes. 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 Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's so good. That is so good.
And he was nice enough to build within explosion range of his buddy.
I did just
one of my favorite things. One of my all-time favorite things is the fact that so many of these king games, huge bulk damage is done by like a handful of small units.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you throw the 200 at them, and it's the 5 that make it through that pop the conversion.
And usually they got some chefs by then. They've seen some shit.
One thing peasants forget as well is you don't have to wait until this stage of the game to do that. If you get those pushes right at the start of the game, get them in, you'll get the win early.
Well, if you make it past the defense,
then our replays won't lag so much because you've won it early. It's your fault.
I swear, 100 blitzes at every ramp. Watch what happens.
You will find the gaps.
Yeah, even with the plus 100,
because
that's not stopped.
Some undefended lanes, and if you find every
cannot,
single one of them, oh boy.
I cannot remember a single game in the last 6 months where every entrance has been properly defended by 10 minutes.
Yeah, so you're always going to find a weak spot. Find it, exploit it.
The games that tend to go really quickly are the ones where most of the peasants push down most of the lanes and they find most of those weak spots. And when you suddenly take out 2 or 3 kings, or you at least cripple them, or force them into nothing but units, and then keep the pressure on and keep pushing, you've got a good chance of making it through. Whereas if you let them scale it, you know, between 10 and 15 minutes, then they get real hard to crack.
Yeah, something else I'd love to see? I'd love to see concerted effort by all kings to put 100 blitzes up each ramp at the 10-minute mark.
Is that doable?
Turn the tables. See what you can get done.
Is that? That's probably
you'd
doable.
Totally be able to do it off a fusion.
The thing is, though, I don't think you get a win because of one particular unit. That unit is your commander. How many DJs do you have?
I actually reckon the amount of damage you do would be worth it. There's only so many of those, though.
As someone who can push.
Who has their comm in position at 10 minutes for the peasants' side?
True.
Yeah, they're not all in place.
Building
And by the
wind.
time you've gone through and popped 4 or 5, they're generally not there for the second wave.
Oh, well, unfortunately, this game here, I think it does drag on a little bit, where this one player just doesn't leave the game for a while. So yeah, Peasants obviously taking this one out. Really good game. It was a close one. Kings watch behind, phenomenal. Rosie in the middle, helping defend. Unfortunately, there was a strong push out of this bottom corner here. These guys here that are always in the game, Potato and the like, Gamer, doing really good, putting that pressure on and finding how to break those Kings pretty early. Hopefully we don't see so many of these red little arrows on the right hand side next week. Hopefully it's back to normal. And yeah, fun game to watch this one. Very fun.
Good pressure from both sides. The fact that the Kings got up onto that outer ring and were rolling around, so the Peasants had basically a doom
If
clock counting down.
if the bottom right hand side had been able to hold a little bit further forward for a little bit longer, the forces of Watch Behind, of Ravenda, and of Nearest would have been able to continue their push and most likely clean up this top right hand side. I think if the top right hand side had been cleaned up, this could have been a different game. But it was very well done for the Peasants to really keep that aggression going, and as I said, working very well as a team.
Paulmont here taking watch behind stuff. I think they're trying to actually finish the game for the sake of everyone, and trying to get ADHD to actually destroy their commander. So I think they're going to go do the self-D over there. Quite amusing talking to them in game about that at the time. When we do get to this stage of the game, for anyone that plays in the future, if the hill is taken, that's considered a win. Kings are no longer the kings of the hill, the peasants of the hill in this case. Just self-D that com, hit the resign button so that these ones wrap up. And
you are always welcome to expand outside of the center, but exactly as Twig said, the game is over once the center is taken, because if not, then the game could just turn into a top side versus bottom side, etc., which is not the theme of King of the Hill.
yeah,
And the thing is, if you've built an eco over in the corner, you can almost guarantee it won't be big enough to hold off the rest of the map, which will be arriving shortly.
But you can make it take a while.
you can see D-guns happening here because I think they caught wind that they were trying to be killed. Unfortunately, yeah, a little bit salty. Please don't do that. All right, guys. On that note, on that slightly disappointing note, we're going to wrap this one up here. And great job to the Peasants, and I'd say even better job to the Kings. They did so well on this evening.
The Kings holding that for as long as they did was pretty crazy.
Yeah, the fact that they had 2 open lanes within 15 minutes and managed to hold for this long is impressive.
There we go. Format ending that game in style. Thank you very much for that one. We'll have a very, very quick look at the graphs when they load, and bid you farewell until next week. Watch behind me.
Looking at just how many peasants were dealing damage consistently throughout this game.
Yeah, you can see quite a few coming online.
There's a lot of blue lines down there.
You can even see like a little bit of
damage under
here.
the curve.
Very hard to see.
It's crazy for the Peasants.
They've done really well. Obviously, yeah, watch behind and Paulmont doing damage consistently in massive numbers throughout the entire game. Rosie coming online very early, and I mean most of the Kings did really well that game. Very close one, and I think we've sorted out the issues with the reclaim bonus not being there anymore by going for that 65 to 75% mark. Leave us comments if you have any recommendations on how we balance these out even better, but of course it's all going to come down to who's wearing those crowns in the middle and what peasants are in those corners, I think. So yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Like, subscribe, comment, join us on Sundays at 9 o'clock Central Australian time for King of the Hill. We also do the Road to 30 OS and these Kings videos Wednesday and Sunday. So hopefully we'll see you then. Jump into the Discord, links in the description. Catch you next time.